Hi, welcome to the Online Jewelry Academy. I'm John Ahr and I'm your instructor. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a very fast, simple project suitable for either a man or a woman. It's a great gift or a last-minute project. It's this right here. It's a sterling silver pendant. This is made entirely from scrap material and it takes just minutes to make it. Now the great thing about this project is that it doesn't require any solder. You're going to be fusing. And what fusing is a controlled melting process. We're basically going to bring these items to very close to their melting temperature and allow them to adhere to one another. Now you'll notice that there's a variety of textures that develop when you use heat in this way. Some of the surfaces will become reticulated or kind of grainy looking. And the great part about this is that the piece has depth. I've added elements to the back side as well. So even if the pendant flips over, it still looks interesting. Okay, let me show you what you're going to need to make this project. First of all, before you do anything with sharp objects, put on your safety glasses. You'll also want to set up your ventilation on your workbench. This will clear away any fumes that might be bad to breathe. You'll also need a flame-resistant work surface. I have a piece of ceramic kiln shelf here. I'm also using a white paste flux with a brush and a hardened charcoal block to heat on. I also have a bowl with water for quenching the project when I'm done heating it. Over here, I have the torch that I'll be using to heat this project. I'm also going to use these items. I have an emery board for filing or smoothing away rough edges. I have a dark permanent marker pen for high contrast marking. I have a pair of tweezers, a pair of round nose or rosary end pliers, a pair of flat end pliers, a pair of metal shears, and a pair of wire cutters. Now, these tools, these hand tools, will be used for shaping both the bail, which holds the necklace to the chain, and for working the smaller elements. Now also on this tray what I have are pieces from incomplete or failed projects, and you can see I have all different sorts of shapes and sizes. It's best to use smaller shapes with a larger supporting base. Now if you want to add a little variety to the piece, if you have any casting grain, you can use some of these small BB-like pieces just to enhance the piece. And for cleanup, you might want to have a little bit of the Scotchbrite material. It's good for cleaning off the pieces before you add the flux to them. Okay, let me show you the process. It just takes seconds. First of all, what I want to do is I want to pick up my main support pieces. So I'm going to start here with this round one, and I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to paint the entire surface, front and back of this piece, with the white paste flux. Now I want to give it a little bit of a heavier coat because I don't want this surface to get a fire scale surface, which can happen with sterling items. Okay, so I'm going to lay that here on the charcoal block, and I'm going to pick up this rectangular one as well. Show you that you can create this project in any sort of main shape. Alright, we've got one side coated, and we'll get the back side coated. Okay, once you have your main framework covered with the flux, then you can just pick up any of these scrap pieces and coat them with flux as you place them on the surface. Now, things to look for would be whether or not you have interesting shapes to put together, or if there's any kind of surface detail that you want to highlight. I'm going to put this big bar directly across this negative space. Let's see, now let's pick up this wire. Now this wire came from jump rings that were made, and this was the little end piece that I couldn't turn into a full jump ring. So we'll just add that to this one here. And you'll notice that I'm just icing these pieces with the flux. Now the flux, when it's heated, creates flux glass, which is very, very hard. It's actually harder than your steel tools, and in order to get it off, you're going to have to pickle these items. Now if you don't pickle, you're probably going to ruin some tools. And I'm going to add this piece up here to close that space off. There we go. It's handy to have a pair of tweezers when you do this project because you don't want to get the flux all over your fingers. The flux, if you leave it on your skin too long, it can develop a chemical burn on your skin, which can be rather painful. So be sure that you work with a pair of tweezers. Now, you do want to remember that you don't want to crowd your pieces too closely together. And what's kind of fun is to actually use both sides of the project to create a sense of depth. And that depth can be brought out when you patina the piece. Now, we do have videos on patination. We also have a ventilation video. And we also have videos for setting up your bench and how to solder. So you may want to look through all of our videos to find the information that you need to be successful. Let me add a little round piece to this one. Now you can work in stages. You can start and work on one side and then flip the piece over and do something on the back if you want to. And one thing that I would recommend is try to work in a way that will create a sense of balance on your piece. That way it will hang properly when you create the bail. Okay, let's add this one over here. And I'll kind of overlap. There we go. Okay, that's enough to start on one side. Let me close up the flux so it doesn't dry out. Alright, so I'm going to heat this now with a torch. Now what you're going to look for is sort of a bright orangey color with sort of a wet surface on the pieces. You don't want to heat much further than that because if you do, the pieces will just turn into a lump of melted metal, and we don't want that. We're going for fusing. So we're just going to heat to that point and pull back the heat and allow the pieces to have all of their glossy surfaces connect together. No soldering involved. Okay, let's get started. Start by gently heating the pieces in order to dry out the flux. This will keep the various elements from changing position. Once the flux is dried, you can move your flame in and out in order to control the temperature of the various parts. Be careful not to melt any one particular piece or area of your project. You want to heat your piece until you see a bright orange glow. Don't heat your piece any hotter than that or you'll melt it. Once you've finished heating, you want to quench the material in a bowl of water. Now if any pieces fall off, just go back and reheat them. Alright, let me pull these out and show you what they look like. So you can see a little bit of green on the surface. That's actually the copper in the sterling alloy coming into the flux glass and tinting it green. And that will go away when you pickle it. Okay, now these pieces could be flipped over and refluxed to add interest to the other side. So you can do that if you want to. Now let me show you how you're going to hang the piece. Now I've made a bail. And this little kite shape is a bail. And I've cut it from a strip of leftover silver. Now I'm going to use this one as a template to trace it onto my strip of sterling silver here, and I'll show you how to cut one. So I'm just going to hold it down and I'm just going to trace around it with this pen. Now it's good to use a dark pen on silver so that you can have a high contrast line that's easy to follow. It's easier to see it if it's dark. Okay. So I've traced the outline of this piece onto the silver, and then all I need to do are take the metal shears and cut it out. So just follow the lines, cut from point to point, and you should get a very, very nice bail. It's pretty easy to do. Just follow the lines. Now this bail doesn't require any solder either. If you want to clean off the permanent marker, you can use the Scotchbrite. Just give it a nice brush. It'll give the bail a nice brushed metal finish. Okay, once you've cleaned it up, pick up your rosary pliers. Now what you're going to do is you're going to make the most acute or smallest curves first. So if my hands are the bail, what I want to do is I want to curl the ends up first, and then I want to curl them so that the two ends overlap so that they can hold the piece. So I'll pick this up and I'm going to go about halfway into my pliers and I'm just going to give a curve. Okay, and then I'll turn it around and I'll do the opposite side. So I pick these up, put them about halfway into the pliers and give it a nice curve. Okay, so the two ends are facing upwards now. So what I'll do is I'll grab the bail in the center, and then just using my fingers I push these two ends together. Now I like to flip it back and forth because the pliers have a conical shape, and this kind of helps to ensure that the top end has a nice even bend to it. So you can see it's like a little alligator with just two teeth coming together to bite. And what you want to do is, I'll pick up one of these projects. It's unfinished, but I just want to show you how to add the bail. You just add your project onto it, and then you just push the two ends together. Now if they need to be adjusted, use your pliers. Your pliers are like super strong extensions of your own fingers. There you go. And now that would be ready to hang on a cord or a chain. I hope you enjoy making this very, very simple project. Check out our other videos and products on the onlinejewelryacademy.com. Thanks for watching.